I could barely recognize myself anymore. My classes, hostel life, and all other school activities became background noise. My real world now existed in shadows. Secret meetings in abandoned lecture halls, whispered instructions, coded texts, and silent nods. The Axemen confraternity had rules, and they are ruthless. Once initiated, there was no leaving, no talking, no betraying. Betrayal was death. I moved through campus like a ghost, hiding the boiling anger beneath a careful mask, smiling when necessary, nodding at the right moments. But inside, every heartbeat whispered one thing: Grace must pay. Her brother must fall. But vengeance was not a rash thing. Not here. Not now. Not when the wrong move could have my body dumped behind the campus mortuary before dawn. I needed patience, planning, precision. I met Grace in my first week as a fresher. It was my third day in school, having used the first and second days to settle into my hostel. That day, I was standing cluelessly in front of the massive Senate building with my admission letter, looking utterly confused. "It looks like you were lost," she said, amused. I turned around, facing her. She had the aura of someone who knew the school well, with a pile of textbooks in her hands. She wore skinny jeans, sneakers, and a hoodie with the university's name crested on it. The sleeves were pushed up to her elbows. Her smile was bright and easy. "Yeah," I replied, scratching my head. "I am looking for the Faculty of Physical Sciences." She laughed softly. "Don't worry, I am going that way. Let's go together." I thanked her and followed her lead. "My name is Grace. I'm in second year, electrical engineering," she said as we walked through the throngs of students rushing around like ants. "I am Emmanuel, computer science, and a first year, as you already know." She nodded and smiled charmingly. As we walked toward our destination, I couldn't help but notice how comfortable Grace seemed, like she owned the campus. She greeted people casually, sometimes with just a nod. Even the security guards at the admin gate smiled when she passed. "You will enjoy it here," she said, swinging her books under her arm. "Just know how to balance life and books. School isn't as tough as most people make it out to be," she concluded. When we arrived at the Faculty of Physical Sciences, a gray weather-stained building with peeling posters advertising tutorials and lost phones, she pointed to a building and said, "You can handle your registration from here." I thanked her and was walking away when her voice stopped me. "But if you get confused or lost, call or text me." She called out her number for me, and I dialed it. Our numbers saved, we bade each other goodbye. By the end of the first month, I had settled into campus life as much as any fresher could. Grace had become my unofficial tour guide and guardian angel. She introduced me to eateries with the best food and snacks. She also warned me about lecturers who failed people for sport and even helped me survive my first departmental test. "If I didn't meet you, I don't know what I'd have done with myself," I said to her one evening as we sat outside her hostel. She smiled charmingly and replied, "That's why I am here, to make you shine." She always had a witty reply to every compliment. Our friendship felt natural. I enjoyed every moment I spent with her and always looked forward to them. My feelings were growing gradually for her, but I didn't want to ruin our friendship by professing my affection to her. It was just good to have someone looking out for me genuinely in this strange, wide world. While our friendship progressed, I didn't fail to notice how some students would look away quickly when Grace passed. The day everything changed. I had just finished my last exam for the semester when Grace called. "Emmanuel, are you free tomorrow?" she asked. "Depends," I replied. I was hoping to sleep as much as I could, having spent the previous night reading. "What's up?" I asked. "It's my brother's birthday tomorrow, and he's having a party. It's just a small party for close friends. Will you come?" "Sure, I will come." I heard a sigh of relief from her end. "Cool. I will send you an invite and the location," she said before the call ended. The following day, I arrived a little late to the party. I had overslept and woke up to 20 missed calls from Grace. The venue was a large, slightly run-down bungalow outside the campus. I heard loud music blasting from within while trying to call Grace. She didn't answer but sent me a text to knock and show my invite to anyone who asked. I hesitated. Something felt off, but I shook the feeling away. "It's Grace," I thought. "She can't harm me." I walked up the cracked steps and knocked. The doors swung open almost immediately. Two tall guys in dark clothes stared at me. Their eyes were cold and emotionless. "Emmanuel," one of them called. Yeah, Grace invited me. She said it's her brother's party. Enter, the same person who called my name commanded. Before I could react, for solid hands held and dragged me inside. The first thing to hit me was the heavy smell of cannabis and incense. The living room was dimly lit, with candles arranged in a strange pattern on the floor. Symbols painted in red and black snaked across the walls. My heart hammered against my ribs as I looked around. Grace. I had called out, my voice shaking. She stepped forward from the shadows, wearing a black t-shirt and jeans. Her face was blank and unreadable. "Welcome, Emmanuel," she said coldly. "Grace, what is this?" She didn't answer. Instead, another man stepped forward. He looked older, a scar slashing across his face, holding a wooden staff with a crude axe carved on top. "You have been chosen," he said in a deep voice. "Tonight, you leave behind your old life. Tonight, you are reborn as one of us." "No, I don't understand." "Grace," I shouted, struggling as the two men held me firmly, forcing me to my knees while one held out my right hand. Grace turned away, her hands clenching into fists. I felt a sharp blade prick my wrist and screamed while blood dripped down on the concrete floor. They chanted words I couldn't understand, their voices rising and falling like a dark wave. As the realization of what had just happened dawned on me, I stopped screaming and stared at Grace's back. She never once looked at me. That night, something died within me, and something colder, something harder, took its place. The Axemen confraternity called their meeting place the Yard. It was an abandoned building behind the old engineering block. No lights, no sounds, just cold concrete, rotting wood, and the smell of old blood. I attended each gathering silent and watchful, learning the structure. At the top was Scarface. His real name, James. He was the number one, the so-called butcher, Grace's brother. He was ruthless, unpredictable, and deadly. I realized he wasn't her real brother. Beneath him were lieutenants, boys with wild eyes and itchy fingers. Grace operated differently. She wasn't officially listed, but she was what they called a gatekeeper. She brought in fresh blood. She was their bait. The realization that all her kindness and sweetness were a bait burned me from the inside out. But I had to keep my head in the game to achieve my revenge. It was 1 week before Convocation Week, which brought many old students back to campus. I was finishing up my laundry when a text buzzed into my phone. "Meeting tonight, 10 p.m. The Yard. Mandatory." It read. I sighed. The noose was tightening. I needed a way out, or at least a way through. That night, the Yard was colder. The air was thick with something I couldn't name. 15 of us, with me being the newest member, gathered in a loose circle, our faces half hidden by the flickering torchlight. Scarface stood in the center, axe staff in one hand, a black bandana tied around his forehead. The meeting was different. They were preparing for something big. "Axemen don't fear nobody," Scarface barked, his voice carrying into the night. "Yes, sir," we chorused. "Next week is Convocation Week. We need to make our enemies respect us. We are going to fall those who have stood against us. Do you hear me?" "Yes, sir." I swallowed hard as he went on saying so many other things. I knew what fall those who stood against us meant. Blood, chaos, pain. His gaze swept the circle and landed on me. "You, Emmanuel," he said. "Are you ready?" I looked up confidently with a stern expression. "I am ready, boss." He laughed harshly. "We will see." That night, I lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling fan in my hostel. My roommate was deep asleep and snoring. Many times, I had contemplated telling him my predicament, but I didn't know if he belonged to a rival group. I had no trust left in me to give. A deadline loomed over my head. 1 week is all I had. 1 week before violence exploded across campus. 1 week before the Axemen dragged me fully into their madness. I had to act before then, before I became like them. But how? I couldn't go to the police, nor could I go to the school authorities. I had no evidence, and the repercussions would cost me my life. I needed help. But from whom and where? After my initiation, Grace had distanced herself from me. And since the announcement of the attack as the gatekeeper, she now moved with some protection. I couldn't reach her without tipping my hands. If I struck too soon, I would be eliminated brutally. I needed something smarter. I needed an ally, not a friend, not a roommate, someone who hated the Axemen as much as I did. I needed an enemy of my enemy. On Monday, the first day of the convocation week, I sat at the cafe waiting for my order. I felt a tap on my shoulder and jerked. Turning around, I saw a skinny man with thick glasses and a serious face leaning close. "You are Emmanuel?" he whispered. I held his gaze, questionably tensed. "Is there any problem?" I asked. "Word on the street is that the Axemen have got you," he said with a smile perched at the corners of his lips. I felt my blood turn to ice momentarily. "I don't know what you were talking about," I retorted, standing to leave. He smiled faintly. "I am not looking for trouble. I just want to help," he said. "I know you were deceived and forced to become a member. And you know, cultism, especially the Axemen, has ruined many innocent lives in this school." I stopped and looked him over. "Let's assume I am who you think I am. Why do you want to help me?" He walked up to me, his eyes glinting. "Because I have scores to settle with them." He extended a hand. "My name is Jay. I'm a detective with the Anti-Cult Squad, underground level." He lowered his t-shirt slightly to reveal a peek of his badge to me. I stared at him briefly, scared and torn between taking his hand or walking away. There it was, the help I needed. Risky, dangerous, but maybe my only chance. I shook his hand, and we sat back. Now the war has begun. The following day, I met Jay in a spot behind the library. It was quiet, shadowed, perfect for secret talks. Jay sat across from me, sipping from a bottle of malt. His eyes scanned the area constantly, never resting too long in one spot. "First thing you need to understand," he said in a low voice, "you are being monitored." "I know," I muttered. I had noticed an Axeman old boy following me a couple of days back. He smiled grimly. "Good. Second thing, you can't fight the Axemen without a plan. They will eliminate you brutally. You need to have a foolproof plan." "So, what's the plan?" I asked. He surveyed the environment briefly before speaking. "You can't touch Grace or James yet. If you try, you will be killed." I frowned. "But there," I started, before he hushed and cut me off. "I know. Calm down. We have to weaken their power, break their trust, scatter their base, make them vulnerable." I nodded slowly and asked, "How?" "Information," Jay said simply. "Every movement, every meeting, every plan, you will feed me. I will handle the rest." I hesitated, thinking about what he said. Snitching was a death sentence if caught. But what other choice did I have? "Okay," I said. "Good." He stood up, dusting sand from his jeans. "Wait for 10 minutes after I leave, then go the other way. Welcome to the real war." With that, he left. Later that same day, after meeting with Jay, I got a text from Grace. She wanted to see me. I was surprised because she hadn't contacted me since my initiation. Most of the time, when we saw each other on campus, she ignored me and acted like we had never met. According to the Axemen Code of Conduct, and as a superior, she could summon me anytime. I got to her hostel and met her waiting outside. "How are you?" she asked, looking at me intently. I shrugged without saying a word. I didn't know why she invited me, so I waited to hear what was next. The mere sight of her filled me with raging anger, but I kept my cool. She cleared her throat. "I'm sorry I got you into this mess. I am deeply sorry I betrayed you. You did what you had to do." "You shouldn't be sorry," I replied calmly. She started, but I cut her off. "Did you summon me here as a superior, or what?" "This is not a summon, Emmanuel. I wanted to see you as an old friend." "Then, good night," I said, taking some steps back. "Unless you are summoning me, don't ever text me again." When I got back to my hostel, I texted Jay and updated him about my meeting with Grace. He reminded me to be careful and not let my anger ruin our plan. On Wednesday night, another impromptu meeting was called at the yard. It was a meeting of the top members of the gang. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I was invited because I was vital to the operation as the newest member of the gang. During the meeting, Scarface kept barking orders about the upcoming show of strength, a planned raid on the rival gang. Many weapons were being distributed to the top members to share with the others. Guns, machetes, axes. I was given an axe and instructed to keep it safe for D-Day. "We attack on Saturday night," Scarface growled, his eyes flashing. "Nobody must leak this information." If this information gets out, heads will roll. I swallowed and nodded along with the others. When I got back to my hostel, I texted Jay, show of strength. Black Skulls. On Saturday night. Full weapons. Black Skulls is the rival gang. Jay replied almost instantly, as if he was waiting on the phone. Copy. Stay low. Watch Grace. On Friday morning, Jay invited me to an off-campus location to meet with some of his team members. He told me how to move to ensure that I wasn't followed. When I got to the location, I met Jay and two of his colleagues, a man and a woman. After the introductions, the lady sized me up with a critical eye. "Are you sure you won't break?" she asked, turning to Jay. "I won't break," I replied, meeting her gaze. Jay nodded in support and clapped me on the back. "Good. Now listen, Saturday night, we will move," he said. "Move how?" I asked. The second guy grinned. "The anti-cult squad will be mounting a raid on Saturday night. We want to catch them red-handed." The lady nodded in affirmation. "But we need someone inside to signal us. Last-minute confirmation." All eyes turned to me. I swallowed hard. "Me?" I asked, looking from one face to another. "Yes. You are part of the group and will also be in action. We need you to send us a signal once the operation is on," she concluded. "And what happens to me when you guys raid?" Jay spoke up, handing me a square-sized paper. "This paper is sticky and reflective. The moment the raid starts, I need you to stick it to your back and lie down flat on the ground. Do not move until someone from our team taps you." I nodded. A simple plan, yet terrifying. If anything went wrong, if Scarface suspected me, I was dead. No second chance. I agreed to the plan and left, heading back to campus. I can't remember the last time I prayed, but on Saturday morning, I woke up and prayed. I asked God to guide and protect me. Jay kept texting to ensure that I was still game with the plan. I assured him that I was. By 6 p.m., I wrapped the axe given to me in a black cloth, put it inside my backpack, and headed to the yard. All Axemen members, except the scouts who were staking out the rival gang and their activities, had gathered. Their weapons were wrapped in black cloths. Grace was there too, dressed in black jeans and a dark hoodie, her face unreadable. Scarface stood proudly, axe in one hand and a shiny stainless 9mm Glock gleaming under the half-moon. He started chanting war incantations as others joined. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear myself think. While the chanting was going on, I slipped away to an empty room and texted Jay as fast as I could. "Green light. Axemen on the move." Jay replied immediately, "On standby." 15 minutes. I slipped back into the group amidst the chanting, forcing my breathing to stay normal. Scarface raised his axe high. "For blood and brotherhood," he roared. We chorused in one voice. "For blood and brotherhood." We moved out in a loose formation, creeping across the dark campus like a pack of wolves. Despite Jay's plan, I had my own plan, and I was going to see it through to the end. I stayed near Grace as we moved. I had my axe ready for action. We had barely walked 5 minutes later when flashlights exploded from all sides, with loud voices and screaming. "Everybody down! Down! This is the police!" Chaos erupted and bullets started flying. I pulled out the paper from my pocket and placed it on my back. I laid on the ground with my weapon, crawling towards Grace, who had also gone down flat on the floor. If this was it, I was going to make sure she wasn't arrested alive. She saw me moving toward her and took off with a speed that surprised me. Getting up and keeping my head low, I chased after her. She was fast, but I was faster. I caught up with her. "Emmanuel, please, don't kill me," she cried. With my axe in hand, I felt something inside me crack, anger battling against something uglier. "I trusted you," I said. "I know," she replied, her voice breaking completely. "I know. I hate myself too." The wind stirred between us. This was the moment I had waited for all along. A moment for revenge. I raised my axe and closed my eyes, counting down from 5. "Don't do it." I heard a loud voice behind me. It was Jay. "This is over, Emmanuel. Don't get blood in your hands." With tears in my eyes, I slowly lowered the axe and threw it to the floor. He came closer and patted me on the shoulder. "You did the right thing," he said. "I am proud of you." He dragged Grace up from the ground and led her away. The following morning, the news broke out. The Axemen confraternity had been crippled. Scarface and all the top members were gunned down during the chaos. A good number of other members were arrested and would be rusticated and jailed, including Grace. I heaved a deep sigh of relief as I read the news with my roommate that morning. Even though Grace still breathed, I felt free and satisfied.